Well, Thomas, we are glad you're back. You and I have seen a couple movies we're going to talk about. Have you seen anything this past week that you're going to talk about? I think we know the answer to that. Well, there's a new film called Ready or Not. It is a hybrid film, part comedy, part horror. It really is a film trying to find its mix. Success at the box office, and Rotten Tomatoes like over a 90-something% on this. The story is this bride and groom are getting married at this family estate. It's like a very well-off family, kind of like a Milton Bradley family who has owned the gaming industry forever and every kind of gaming you can think of. Mattel, I mean, you name it. They own it, and they also own several sports teams, so they're well off. So anybody who marries into the family, there's a ritual. So on the night of the wedding, the honeymoon night, they have to play a game. They draw a card from a box, and it can be anything from Old Maid to Monopoly to whatever.
Checkers.
To what?
Yeah, checkers or chess. Yeah.
Checkers or chess. Yeah. There's one card you don't want to draw, and that card's called hide and seek. Because a hide and seek game, you actually have to go hide for your life.
Yeah.
The bride or groom, whoever it happens to be marrying into the family, they don't know this. So, you marry into this family and you marry into a bunch of crazies is basically what happens.
Yeah, so the thing is, when she goes hiding, she's like, well, this is, my first wedding night, like, this is not what I imagined would take place. And she goes hiding, count to 100 or something. They have this classic tune that's playing to count it down. And then she's like, all right, I'm just sick of this. This is so silly. And then all of a sudden, she kind of sneaks out, and there's somebody, there's a lot of things that transpire, but she sees kind of bodies roll, people fall on the floor dead, and she's like, okay, this is not a game, this is not what I was expecting.
And not what I signed on for, but yet it was. And so the whole movie is kind of a cat and mouse of her trying to stay alive. And it's done, a lot of it's done kind of tongue-in-cheek. There are elements of humor, and then of course there are the elements of the thriller and the horror aspects of it, traditional tropes. But she's really, she's smart. She's kind of an action star in many ways, and we're going to actually interview her on this show right after this review. I thought the action worked well. I thought the cinematography at times, the practical effects, a lot of practical effects. I thought some of the editing choices were well done. But I felt the balance was a bit off. So what are some of your thoughts on, and she was solid. She was absolutely spectacular. The actress is Samara Weaving, and she was absolutely incredible. And if anybody saw the Netflix original, The Babysitter film not too long ago, she was the lead in that.
Oh yeah, so I just really loved the aesthetic of it all. The lighting and the shadows, the production design, and basically all took place inside this mansion. So, that's something that you might see in a Blumhouse film, like with, $5 million budget, limited location, limited cast, and this is something that very much had that same feel. And it was pretty to look at, and technically, like you mentioned, the practical effects, some of these injuries that took place, it reminded me of how I felt watching Crawl a few months ago. With the alligators. I'm like, oh man, that was brutal, really.
There were some cringe-worthy moments, that's for sure.
Exactly, and so all of that worked very well, and the original score from Brian Tyler. But just looking to the pacing of the story, it was like 90 minutes long, just over 90 minutes. And some scenes just felt really slow and were dragging on. You're like, well, it's got to be setting up something. It's got to be going somewhere. But then at the end of the day, it was just kind of a takeaway scene that you didn't need that in there at all, and it didn't add anything to the story. It didn't really develop the characters, and if it did develop the characters, it was just some of the characters were just really cheap, and just some cheap laughs and jokes that just didn't hit. Really.
I feel the same way. Some of the supporting cast, they were okay. Andy McDowell was in this as kind of the mom, and she was good. It's good to see her on screen again. Haven't seen her in a long time. And there was actually this kind of fight scene between Samara Weaving, her character's name is Grace, and Andy McDowell's character. They shot that the first day. And behind the scenes, Andy McDowell actually got hit and got slightly injured by Samara Weaving, and Samara was like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's okay. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. So A lot of stunt work done in this film as well, and there are a couple scenes that you can't help but think about Tarantino. The actual final scene is just amazing to look at, and I'm not going to tell you what that is, but if you go watch it, stick around, it's worth it for that final scene.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like something that would be straight out of Django Unchained, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was overall a bit disappointed with the final outcome. I'd heard from some people that it was like, the best film of the year and the most original film. I mean, I would say it's one of the more original films we've seen this year, and I really admired some of the swings they took.
Yeah.
But just didn't quite hit overall.
Yeah.
Her husband's character in particular
Yeah, I
was a
agree.
character that really bothered me. Like the whole premise of bringing someone you love into this crazy family that's like, a cult, satanic cult,
Yeah.
and you're like
the Manson family.
yeah, exactly. It's like you don't want to. If you really love somebody, I think you'd kind of leave them out of that. And some of the decisions he made within the story, and his character arc, just really felt very
Yeah.
inconsistent.
I
and
felt
really
the same way.
bothered me.
That sounds like a fatal flaw right there.
It was. For me, I felt the very same way. I'm like, if he really does love her, and you could tell that he loved her, but yet he's bringing her into this family that he knows has got some demons,
Yeah.
some literal demons that are keeping them going and that they're trying to bury. But I was bothered by his choices as well.
Exactly.
But her character arc was solid. I mean, she came from this foster care background, and she didn't have real family, and so to be able to have a family was something you saw her embracing. And then she realized, okay, these guys are nuts, and then she's trying to get away from them. And so seeing her change from this kind of unassuming person to somebody that had strength and had to literally fight for her life throughout, she was great. I really, really, really liked her a
And
lot.
this takes place on their wedding night?
On the wedding night.
Look, I've had some awkward moments on wedding nights, but at least no one's tried to kill me.
Well, for me, Tim feels the same way. For me,
Yeah, Tim knows what I'm
the
talking about.
creativity of it and her allowed this to get a B- for me. It wasn't something I loved, but she was amazing. What was your rating?
Oh yeah, right there with you, a B-. I mean, there were too many scenes that kind of dropped my jaw for it to be considered a bad movie. Too many scenes that I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting, really unique.
Well, we do have Samara Weaving. I hope she's actually not watching right now because we're not giving it an A+. I am sorry, Samara, but we gave you an A+, right?
Oh, exactly, no doubt.
A+ for Samara.